Friday, May 18th, Facebook is finally going public. The value of data mining. How much is your information worth? They think they're going to raise $100 billion or even more. I'm Aaron Dykes with the InfoWars Nightly News, and I'm bringing you a quick update, a follow-up on our exclusive important report on the many connections between Facebook, its founders and funders, and the Bilderberg group of globalist elites who control this country and are about to meet again at the end of this month. We know that intelligence companies, whether it's the NSA, the CIA, or a dozen other agencies, have been behind Google, they've been behind Facebook, and so many other important technology companies. They're the ones steering and using the data. Right now, Facebook is a $3 to $4 billion company, and they eventually believe it's going to be worth $100 billion. But those investors holding shares will be cashing in on that $100 billion figure as early as tomorrow. And that's how they can walk away with large sums of money. Some of the biggest pump and dump schemes in history have been those kinds of IPO bubbles. So the initial public offering can be a double-edged sword, and we're going to see what happens in the case of Facebook. But is it a scam? The question has at least been raised by one University of Oxford professor named Tim Jenkinson. He says the basic question you have to ask is, do you want to buy a company where all the insiders are headed for the door? So are people buying into the IPO tomorrow about to get the investment of their lives, or are they about to be taken for a ride as a key group of insiders make themselves even richer? Many of its angel investors who put the company into the big time in the earliest stages are some of the people selling off some of the biggest shares. Those include Peter Thiel, who gave the first big $500,000 investment to Facebook. He is a steering committee member of the Bilderberg group of elites. The other is Jim Breyer, who's part of the Excel group. He's been linked to NQTel, the CIA, and all kinds of intelligence firms. And he put up a very large amount of money in that second stage. We're also going to see a number of later stage investors selling off a lot of their shares, also hoping to cash in. Those groups include Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, and even U2's own Bono, whose group is trying to liquidate many of its shares. It will be an important test. How much is your information worth? But first, we'll take you back to that key report explaining all the nexus points between the Bilderberg group and Facebook's core group of founders and funders. Not the least of which is Sean Parker, who we detail in this report, who was recruited by the CIA at an early age, who once started Napster, who we explain in detail in the report, who is meeting here in this report with Excel partner and key Facebook investor Jim Breyer, who again has been connected to intelligence circles. Back to the Bilderberg topic, increasingly all the things we see on the internet, the positive sides of the revolution, the attempts to crack down, all seem to be spiraling around the group of elites that meet each year in a new location under their secret names in fancy five-star hotels. And it's part of, we see more and more, a larger web of control through groups like Facebook and other big tech people. So many of them have started attending this conference, and kind of nexusing with that, we have the article today from our contributor A.M. Freyed, Liars or Genius? Gaga, Zuckerberg, and Obama groomed from childhood for their roles. And this is all on the heels of Facebook launching its IPO this week. They are estimating they're going to be valued at over $100 billion. Lady Gaga went to Geek Camp too. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, Google's Sergey Brin are all alumni of the Center for Talented Youth at Johns Hopkins University. Similar programs also take place, such as the Duke Talent Identification Program and others. It's kind of a mix of people with gifts for mathematical, musical, technical things, and people who just have important elite family members, and how they prepare them for their role in the New World Order. In particular, this is interesting with Zuckerberg. A.M. Freyed writes, it's likely these are all lies of sorts. Zuckerberg is no genius mogul, and Facebook is more a U.S. intelligence asset than a functioning business. It's a simple formula. The power elite that wants to run the world has increasingly integrated a seamless network of testing throughout the web to help develop and identify top human youngsters, those who are symbolically facile, even verbally adept, without the additional burden of deep thinking. That's right, they want to control their little pet geniuses, and monarch programs and other forms of mind control are not necessary. Most, like Zuckerberg, acquiesce willingly and do whatever is required. Of course, many of these young people mature late, and mathematical capability is not the only kind of creativity they hold. This is not an issue to the top elites. They apparently wish to select for numerical facilities, music, language, math skills, because the owners of such talents are more likely to be linear in their thought rather than holistic thinkers. The idea is to present geniuses with outward dazzling skills, but little in the way of insight or determination to investigate the realities of the larger picture. And that larger picture is coming together when you begin to study who is it that attends the Bilderberg meeting? What is their agenda? What are their related agendas? What are their conflicts of interest? We're going to get into some of that today, and throughout it, they're going to be revealing just some of the technical people who've attended Bilderberg just over the past few years. Bill Gates, probably the most notable, the already most deeply steeped in evil, but others are being brought onto this platform. And what really is at Bilderberg, just the larger cartel. That's really what they are. There's the one company. They include the NSA, they include the CIA, they include all the political fronts, and they control a great deal of the industry, the technical stuff, and a whole lot more. Now, we've heard this week about how a judge refuses to reveal the ties between the NSA and Google. We're not supposed to know that they're spying on us or that they're working together, or that Google was basically launched as a front for the NSA, CIA, and related interests. But that's all coming out. And you see Eric Schmidt attending annually at Bilderberg. He got confronted last year, and it's kind of funny, too. He thought that people wouldn't know how to speak English just because they were in Europe, but they did. He got shouted at. He didn't like it. They even had some of the videos pulled from YouTube of people confronting Eric Schmidt and the other Bilderberg attendees who got caught walking down the sidewalk. Very interesting. But back to Facebook. This week, they're in the news, of course, because the IPO is about to happen. They're about to be declared as a $100 billion company, really topping anything Bill Gates did or any of these other newfound billionaires, because it's part of that larger myth of wealth. Those who have the wealth are supposedly in control. Therefore, they associate with the elite. Therefore, they pull the strings. Therefore, it's not surprising to find them influencing this and that in social media and online and our new reality, what's considered the mainstream culture they're always trying to sell. And so you see Eduardo Saverin wanting to leave the country, wanting to renounce his citizenship, but of course cash in on that IPO. Now, this guy, Eduardo Saverin, was the initial funder for Facebook when it was only tens of thousands of dollars. He was at Harvard, ran with Zuckerberg and the other founders who are all roommates there, but they didn't really like his style and they tried to push him out of the company, but he got it back through a lawsuit and now he has the money. But there's an interesting clip I want to play here from the movie The Social Network that'll tie us to our main focus in this piece, which is Sean Parker, the first president of Facebook, also launcher of Napster, which disrupted the web, and someone who looks to be an overall agent of disruption. He also had the company Plaxo, which was basically a viral online address book that worked alongside of in companionship with Microsoft's Outlook. And according to what I read about it, it basically would download onto users' computers, steal their contacts, and contact all those people to try to get them to join the network. Let's roll that clip right now.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? You?
$1 billion.
So $1 billion, that's what's cool. When Eduardo Saverin wanted to sell off the company for a little over $1 million, people like Sean Parker convinced them to keep going forward and try to make Facebook a truly huge company. Now, the real truth is these people are just fronts for larger entities. We've seen in the past how the Rockefeller and other big entities had to break up Standard Oil, had to break up AT&T, had to break up IBM, and other true monopolies of the early part of the 20th century. They spun them, sold them, put them in side companies, but it turned out that all along control was basically with the same important people. And you see at the same time how John D. Rockefeller was himself an icon for that robber baron wealth of the early part of the 20th century. In the 21st century, in the rise of technology and the takeover of operating systems, Bill Gates was a major icon for that. And you see how much he has pushed the New World Order agenda, himself meeting very often at Bilderberg meetings along with his father and his wife and other counterparts of Microsoft and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But now that too has to grow. Companies like Facebook have to transplant the success of Microsoft. They have to top what's already been done. So now it has to be a $100 billion company. What does that money really mean? What's it based in? It doesn't matter, but they're going to be selling these new Silicon Valley figures as our saviors, as the rightful elites to control things. And that's why you see people like Sean Parker, the founders, including Zuckerberg, of Facebook being glorified, movies made about them. Again, you just saw the clip from The Social Network where he says a million isn't cool, a billion, that's what's cool. But actually, he said $1 billion isn't cool. The real life Parker has a different take on wealth. It's not cool, he said, of $1 billion. I think being a wealthy member of the establishment is the antithesis of cool. He added, saying being a counterculture revolutionary is cool. So the extent that you're made $1 billion, you've probably become uncool. Well, Sean Parker, you become uncool. We have you on video attending Bilderberg in 2010, giving the victory sign, so cool, like $1 billion cool.